If free, friends, and then we will listen to Celine Fajon's short lecture on the North Korea and then Russia relations from European and French perspective. Please.
Excellent. Thank you so much, dear Dr. Peik, for your invitation. So very happy to be here and to comment on the North Korea-Russian recent rapprochement. I think this is very unprecedented and very worrying for European and for French and for the whole international community. So I would like to provide some kind of element to see how we can interpret this strengthening of the relation. I think first that this is a kind of result that we've seen recently with the visit of Vladimir Putin to North Korea. This is a result of a gradual rapprochement that we've seen in the past 10 years or so, and this is the result of the diplomatic isolation of both North Korea and Russia. Russia, of course, after the invasion to Ukraine, have been pushed into a corner and have been sanctioned by the international community. North Korea is in the same kind of position for some times now. So rather than, I think, maybe their objective to demonstrate that they are not so isolated and they can find some supports and friends, this recent summit actually demonstrates their weakness in a way, and their deep isolation, and the fact that they are in need of having more partners. But when you look at the respective situation of both North Korea and Russia as two authoritarian states, which economic situation is very in a dire situation, very weak, and which are clearly in breach of human rights in both countries, and also violating international law, international regimes, such as the non-proliferation of weapons of mass destruction, and of course with the Russian aggression to Ukraine, denying other countries' integrity and sovereignty. I think this is a very worrying trend, and also a fact that two failed states, in a way, two very weak powers can band together to oppose the rules-based order, and to also oppose the broader Western world, I would say, is sending a very negative signals, and is very destabilizing, and which is exemplified by this rapprochement, is the interconnectedness between the European and Asian theater. We've seen that for several times now. I mean, we know that China is supporting Russia war efforts in Ukraine by providing some economic support and also some dual-use equipment. We know that South Korea is a very important provider of military equipment to Poland, so in a way is also contributing to the dynamic of the Ukraine conflict. So we were already realizing that there is some intermingling relation and interconnection between the two theaters, but now with the clear rapprochement between the North Korea and Russia, it adds another layer of this, and it's clearly demonstrate that we need to really have a broader, holistic look at what is going on in the two regions of the world, and that the European needs to have a more also interest and maybe more commitment to what's going on in Asia and East Asia. And as the Asian players are also being more and more committed on what's going on in Europe. So I think this is one of the key message that we can get from the latest development between DPRK and Russia. This is posing a lot of questions also in terms of how to be able to better enforce the sanctions, the international sanctions vis-à-vis the two players, because obviously they are supporting each other to try to go around this sanction or circumvent these sanctions. So I think it also calls for a greater collaboration between European countries and their Asian partners in trying to design a better way to enforce the sanction and to make sure that they are actually kind of efficient. I think what we see also is the fact that NATO will have certainly more interest and more discussions about the East Asian theater. For several years now, we've seen that China has been on the agenda of NATO meetings for good reasons, and we've seen also concomitantly the rapprochement and more cooperation between NATO and the AP4, so the four partners in Asia, in which you have South Korea, Japan, as well as Australia and New Zealand. And I think this latest visit by Vladimir Putin and this treaty between North Korea and Russia is also adding another element of alarm, I would say, of concern about what the situation, how the situation in East Asia is evolving, and how this specific relation has an impact directly on the European theater. So I think there is an upcoming NATO summit in Washington. I believe the AP4 countries will be invited, and of course I think this rapprochement will be discussed thoroughly within the NATO partners. Footnote on that to say that, for example, France is not so keen on seeing NATO turning more into East Asia or going to East Asia. There have been a lot of discussion and a lot of confusion actually in France regarding what would entail greater rapprochement between NATO and Asian partners. I think in France there is a support for greater cooperation in some cases in cyber security, space issue, which are not geographically delimited. defined. But there is traditionally a kind of reluctance to see NATO enlarging its security interest and concern and going to another theater, beyond the transatlantic region. So we've seen some reluctance in that, and that might not be only the case of France. I think maybe within NATO there are still some discussion between the allies regarding to what extent NATO can give interest and can go and act more in Asia and try to mitigate the instability that we see in Asia that has also some consequences on the European theater. So I would like just to add this note regarding the French position. Also, you know that France has its very own Indo-Pacific strategy. So this is explain why also there have been a lot of concern in France looking at the Russia-North Korea rapprochement. I think it's only reinforcing actually the political willingness in France to be more present and to act in the region in support to international rules-based order. That's already what we are doing. France has been navigating, patrolling the South China Sea for more than 10 years now to enforce the law of the sea and to defend the freedom of navigation. We also are a P5 power, so as a permanent member of the UN Security Council, we consider that we have a specific responsibility to make the international regime, such as a non-proliferation regime, be respected. So in this light,
All right, thank you so much for your excellent presentation and then brief, and you actually gave us some ideas on French perspectives too in it. So yeah, and then I have a few questions for you. I think it's we discussed before this your presentation, and then talked about French current French political situation. And then many actually think and are concerned about national rallies presumed the victory in this parliamentary election, and then if it is turned out to be true, and then national rally, and then into the far left party, not just France but also Italy, and then the Netherlands, and there might be Germany. What will happen to those major European countries' relation with Russia, and then Ukraine-Russia war?
Yeah, that is very important question right now. And as you know, there have been a big important upsurge of the far right in France with the general elections, the snap elections that were called by the President Macron. And so we know that traditionally our far rights, and maybe it would be the same for other countries in Europe, as kind of advocated for closer ties with Russia. They have quite cordial relation with Putin's Russia, which is quite concerning, because we imagine that if they are going to actually get the majority, absolute majority in our assembly, and that Jordan Bardella, which is the leader of the National Rally, become prime minister, he will tend to have a more cordial, more warming ties vis-à-vis Putin, and maybe put a kind of a break or discourage the kind of assistance that we can provide to Ukraine. But this is, I think, only one scenario. What we've seen recently is that actually the National Rally right now is trying its best to go into the power and maybe to keep the power, and they have in mind not only the general election right now, but the next presidential election. And to do that, they will have to be more pragmatic than ideologist, actually. And as you may know, the priority right now, it's really put on domestic issues, economic, social, and so on. So foreign policy won't be the #1 priority of any government or the National Rally. So I think they will be more trying to be more opportunistic and to be less trying to be less provocative, at least on this side. So I think that we should be a little bit more less maybe pessimistic about the implication of the coming into power of National Rally on French policy, foreign policy first, and French policy vis-à-vis Russia. Certainly, it's not a very positive signal, but I think that what we are more likely to see is continuity rather than big change first, and maybe less proactive foreign policy, because we will be in a kind of wait and see attitude rather than the big breakthrough.
Let's be hypothetical, and then this National Rally win the election, and then the far right, the government in the Netherlands, and then growing power in the the Germany of the AfD, I think I remember, and then Donald Trump, and this become more transactional. Those major powers in the United States and then Western European countries say that's the NATO. NATO's major countries, they are becoming transactional. Then what's going to make the impact on this Ukraine-Russian war, and then Russia-North Korea relationship?
Positive, but I think that despite that we see some populists going into power in several countries and having this more transactional policy, we still have some institutions that are holding the all values and principles together. Fortunately, if you look at the result of the European Parliament elections, of course, we see that some extreme right have gained some seats, but overall, the broad equilibrium, the broad balance of power has not shifted so much. So I think we need to hold on to that and hope that there is enough positive dynamics to continue to uphold a rules-based order, because at the end of the day, more instability will be detrimental to everybody. So that's why I think maybe more pragmatic approach will be at the end of the day will be prevailing, I hope.
Then you mentioned during your lecture on NATO AP4, and then France is not very proactive on this developing this relationship. But NATO summit is going to happen next week in Washington D.C. Many people are actually watching this very important political and security events right now, and then those NATO AP4 meetings. Actually, do you see any North Korea Russia rapprochement become a major issue for that this NATO AP4 say meeting or summit?
Yeah, of course, I think it will be one of the major issue because it directly impacts the transatlantic theater and the European theater. And I think we have a lot to do with, I mean, the NATO allies and partners are a lot to exchange with the AP4 countries to better understand the situation in North Korea, to better understand the calculus that Kim Jong-un might have behind this rapprochement and this treaty with Putin. And I think what is quite remarkable is the security cooperation dimension of this treaty. There is a mutual assistance clause. So in case of an attack, of a war, Russia and DPRK pledged to come to assist each other. So this has a direct impact also on Europe. Even if right now there is a lot of caveats, we don't know exactly how each of the terms of this treaty will be defined. So to what extent this kind of clause will be activated and how the assistance will be provided. But it's only providing more instability because of that, and providing more like kind of security dilemma, because there's a lot of opacity, a lot of uncertainty. So this explains why I think it should be at least at the middle of the center of the discussion between NATO and AP4 to better understand the situation and better analyze.
It's really, we discussed it before, but this is really, the regional security convergence, whether, the major countries like it or not, say Euro-Atlantic region and the Indo-Pacific region. I mean, the North Korea and the Russia relationship, rapprochement, and then South Korea and the Central and Eastern European countries, military, and then the defense industrial cooperation, and France Indo-Pacific strategy, and all those things actually are coming together. And then this North Korea and Russia rapprochement and the military cooperation and then treaty, it's become a real catalyst, for moving forward. And the last question is, you are the, Japan expert. You are covering, Japan and the Indo-Pacific, and then especially these days, South Pacific, region too. South Pacific is a little bit far away from, this, Northeast Asia, East Asia right now. And then, but, what about your take on, Japan's perspective or reaction to North Korea and then Russia rapprochement and then military treaty?
Yeah, I think, of course, Japan with South Korea is at the forefront of both North Korea and Russia. We've seen a lot of tensions recently with the war in Ukraine. Japan also completely changed his relations with Russia. There have been a clear rupture. I mean, under the Abe, during the Abe mandate, there have been a kind of attempt to reach out to Putin and maybe solve the territorial dispute and trying to get a peace treaty with Russia. And now this is completely forgotten, and Russia is seen as inimical countries. So for Japan, it's really also further complicating the security context in the region, and I think it's also pushing in a way and encouraging Japan to get closer to South Korea and also the US, and what we've seen since last year with a very remarkable rapprochement between the three countries. that with the Camp David summit, the fact that there is now a kind important realization that the security cooperation needs to be stepped up, expand, and deepen in a way. I think it's only nurturing this kind of logic, and especially because altogether Russia and I mean the rapprochement with Russia can also embolden North Korea to be more provocative, more aggressive vis-à-vis both South Korea, and we've seen in recent months several attempts to destabilize the situation, and also could be of course of detriment to Japan too, which is really at the can be reachable from all the kind of missiles that North Korea has in this position and can use very regularly. So I think the more coordination between North Korea and Russia can be very threatening to Japan too.
It's
Thank you very much.
great pleasure, to have you in this program, and then we are looking forward to having more, conversation like this in coming months and years. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you very much, William.
Okay.